Some cities are abandoned because people left. Others are abandoned because something arrived, and the streets still know its name. In one of them, the lights went out so fast that breakfast never cooled. Bodie, California, USA. You step into Bodie, and the doors still look mid-slam. At 8,375 feet in Mono County, California, wind threads dust through rooms where people left as if they meant to come back. In 1859, W.S. Bodie found gold nearby, and by the late 1870s and early 1880s, the high desert had a city. 8,000 to 10,000 people crowded into saloons, gambling halls, a red light district, churches, and a jail, all balanced on ore and bad weather. Then the veins thinned. Bodie did not die at once. It emptied by degrees, until the major fire of 1932 burned through what the mines no longer fed. Since 1962, Bodie State Historic Park has held it in arrested decay. You look through a window and see a furnished room gathering dust, not restored, not rescued. Bodie is still here, carefully left behind. Kolmanskop, Namibia. Then the trail leads into the Namib, where the strangest ruin is not a house, but an ice factory. You are standing near Lüderitz, in one of the driest deserts on Earth, inside a town that once made cold for millionaires. Kolmanskop rose after diamonds were found here in 1908, under German colonial rule in what was then German Southwest Africa. The stones made the place absurdly rich. German-style houses faced the sand. A hospital, ballroom, school, theater, casino, and bowling alley followed, as if Europe had been lowered into the desert and told to pretend nothing was wrong. But Kolmanskop lived only as long as the nearby diamond fields paid for the illusion. Richer fields appeared farther south. The money left. By 1956, so had everyone else. Now you walk through rooms half full of sand, dunes pushing through doorways and over floors that once held polished boots and chandeliers. The desert did not erase it. It occupied it. Hashima Island, Japan. From the water, you first see a warship that cannot move. Seawalls form the hull. Concrete towers rise like a bridge. Only then does the name make sense. Gunkanjima, Battleship Island. Sitting about 15 kilometers from Nagasaki, Mitsubishi bought Hashima in 1890 and drove its wealth under the seabed, where coal seams fed a miniature vertical city above them. You would climb past schools, staircases, rooftop shrines, and dense apartment blocks, including Building 30, finished in 1916 as one of Japan's early reinforced concrete apartments. By 1959, about 5,259 people lived on this tiny rock, a density often cited as higher than Manhattan's. Then Japan moved away from coal, pushed harder after the 1973 oil crisis. The mine closed. In 1974, Hashima emptied. Now salt eats the rooms, and the battleship stays anchored to its own ruin. Varosha Cyprus. Varosha sits in the southern quarter of Famagusta, on Cyprus's eastern coast. Before the fences, this was where the Mediterranean came dressed for cameras. In the early 1970s, Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton were linked to its hotels, and the Argo Hotel faced Golden Sands Beach like a stage set for wealth. Then, in August 1974, after a Greek-backed coup, Turkey's military intervention split the island's future open. Varosha emptied fast. The wider Famagusta area had around 39,000 residents before the crisis, but here the guests vanished with the residents. For decades, the Turkish military sealed the district behind fences and warning signs. Stand there now, in the areas reopened since 2020 under Turkish Cypriot administration, and you see sunlit sand beside hotel balconies with no towels, no voices, no checkouts. A resort survived as evidence. The silence still has borders. Kayaköy Turkey. You climb the hillside, and the first thing you notice is the roofs are gone. Hundreds of stone houses still stand above Fethiye in southwestern Turkey, but every room is open to the sky. This was Levisi, now Kayaköy, a Greek Orthodox town of several thousand people. In the early 20th century, estimates often put its population between 6,000 and 10,000. Then the Greco-Turkish War ended, and the compulsory population exchange formalized after the Treaty of Lausanne in 1923 turned neighbors into paperwork. You pass empty school buildings, small chapels, and the two great churches, Panagia Pirgiotissa and Taxiarchus, their walls still staring across the valley. The cause was not natural disaster. It was demographic engineering, imposed by states and recorded in stone. Here, abandonment does not look ancient. It looks like everyone left last Tuesday. Kadykchan, Russia. The cold hits first. You hear wind scraping through broken stairwells, then the silence opens around you. This is Kadykchan, in Magadan Oblast, deep in Russia's far east, near the Kolyma Highway. It began in 1943 as a coal settlement for local power infrastructure, raised inside Dalstroy, the NKVD system that ran Kolyma's camps, where at least 100,000 prisoners lost their lives. At its height, 10,000 to 12,000 people lived here. Schools opened, boilers roared, a cinema lit the dark. Then, in 1996, a mine explosion caused workers to lose their lives and pushed the coal pit toward closure. When the mine shut, the state moved people out and cut utilities. In this cold, pipes froze solid within weeks. By the 2000s, you could stand in an apartment with toys still on the floor and no heat coming back. But the next ruin does not freeze from outside. It burns from below. Centralia, Pennsylvania, USA. You stand on cracked Pennsylvania pavement, and the town breathes smoke. This is Centralia, in Columbia County, a coal town that once held more than 2,000 people. In 1962, fire slipped into the mines beneath it. The disaster refused to behave like a single event. It became a slow evacuation, a map fading house by house. By the 1980s, a federal relocation program was pulling residents out. In 1981, 12-year-old Todd Domboski nearly vanished when a steaming sinkhole opened under him. Now you find vents in the ground, cemeteries ringed by stripped land, empty streets, and the buried scar of Route 61, the graffiti highway covered with dirt in 2020. Zip code 17927 was discontinued in 2002. Fewer than a dozen residents remain, living over a fire that may outlast centuries. Centralia did not burn down. It burned underneath. Plymouth, Montserrat. After Centralia's hidden fire, Plymouth gives you the opposite horror. You enter a Caribbean capital where the ground came down from the sky. The Soufriere Hills volcano woke in 1995, and by 1997, Montserrat's capital was emptying by order, with about 7,000 people displaced from an island of 11,000. Then the city disappeared in layers. Ash piled up to 12 meters deep in places. Pyroclastic flows, often hotter than 700 degrees Celsius and racing faster than 100 kilometers per hour, swept through streets that had just held traffic in school uniforms. You can still see the old police station and government buildings half buried, upper floors stranded above a dead surface. Geology did in 2 years what no enemy army had done in centuries. Plymouth is abandoned, sealed inside an exclusion zone, and still Montserrat's official capital on paper. The volcano kept the city. The law kept the name. Pripyat, Ukraine. You enter Pripyat through a silence broken by a dosimeter ticking faster than footsteps. The city was founded in 1970 in northern Ukraine, near the Belarus border, 3 kilometers from the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. It was an Atomgrad, a planned Soviet city built for the workers of the nuclear age. About 49,000 people lived inside that promise. Then, on April 26, 1986, Reactor 4 exploded. The next day, buses came. Residents were told they were leaving temporarily. Bring only essentials. Leave the rest. You can still read the lie in the rooms. In the hospital, metal beds sit stripped and crooked, as if the emergency only paused. At the Palace of Culture Energetic, the future has no audience. The amusement park meant to open for May Day never opened at all. Its Ferris wheel rusts above the trees, waiting for riders who never arrive. Oradour-sur-Glane, France. After Pripyat's empty Ferris wheel, Oradour-sur-Glane asks a darker question. What do you do with a village where the absence has names? On June 10, 1944, in Haute-Vienne, Waffen-SS troops from the 2nd SS Panzer Division Das Reich destroyed it, and 643 men, women, and children lost their lives. The men were attacked in barns and garages. Then 247 women and 205 children were forced into the church, where smoke and fire filled the building, and the outcome was devastating. Marguerite Ruffenche escaped through a window. One woman, Stand there now and you first notice the intimate things. A sewing machine, a bicycle, a shop sign, then the burned cars, ruined tram tracks, collapsed homes, and the rusting Peugeot 202, as if the clock stopped at 2 in the afternoon and nobody was allowed to move the hands. France built a new village nearby. The old one stayed as evidence.